Hello, everybody. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and this is my colleague, Tracy Priest.
Hello, everybody.
And we're with The Road to Retail. On our podcast, Tracy and I hope to offer tips, insights, ideas, and examples for how small, emerging, and challenger CPG, consumer packaged goods, brands can build their business. Everything from determining if you're ready to grow, where to start, how to prove it online, or how to go about securing distribution at a national retailer, driving your business through to the end consumer, or how to go about finding an investor if you're ready for that aspect. Bottom line is we would love to help you be successful by highlighting the many important aspects of this journey to establishing and growing your brand. Tracy and I have been doing this a long time. We've made a lot of mistakes, and we've done a few good things, so we're here to help you. Please follow our podcast on iTunes or Spotify, leave us a review, and consider sharing the show with a friend or colleague that may benefit from the content. Tracy?
Bruce and I have been involved in consumer packaged goods commercial operations roles for over 30 years. We define commercial operation functions relating to sales, marketing, trade marketing, broker and distributor management, agency selection and management, new product development, brand acquisition and divestitures, and customer management. We also invite on our episodes friends and former colleagues from all aspects of the Road to Retail process to come on the show and offer their opinions and experience. Again, we encourage you to subscribe to our iTunes or Spotify channel at Road, 2 Retail.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Road to Retail, where we interview and talk to friends and colleagues in the industry. Good to see you today, Bruce.
Tracy, good to see you as always, my friend.
Awesome. So we've got a great guest today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who we have?
Well, today we're lucky to be joined by David Koifman, who's the VP of Sales of Kickfurther. And David's going to tell us about his firm. But before we go there, David, welcome. And thank you for taking the time to come on the show today.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, Tracy. It's great to be here. Very excited to join the podcast and tell you a little bit about my experience and hopefully help some retail businesses out as they pursue growth.
That's great. So before we dive into Kickfurther specifically, why don't you just tell the group listening a little bit about you and your background and how you ended up in your current position?
Sure. So I run the sales organization here at Kickfurther, been on the team for 7 years, a little bit over 7 years. And so I've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of consumer goods brands that are on the path. I guess everybody's really on the path to acquisition at some point.
Right.
But when we interact with them, they're sort of on their early growth path. And so that's been a wild ride. You know, when we started, we had served probably 100 customers, and now it's in the thousands. So before that, I was also a founding sales lead at a fintech that was in the consumer lending space, so a bit different. So I've been in the retail or consumer goods space for 7 years now.
That's awesome.
Excellent. Thank you. Tracy?
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the backstory. So, obviously our audience is, founders and, CPG leaders in the industry. So tell us a little bit about the backstory of Kickfurther and what gap you saw in the marketplace and how you feel that Kickfurther then fills that gap.
So the backstory is not my backstory, but I know it well. I've been with the company for 7 years. Our founder, CEO, Sean DeClercq, founded the company 10 years ago, or back in 2014, when he was in the shoes of the business owner and encountered the problem that we solve today. He was buying physical goods and selling them at a later date to retailers on payment terms and didn't have the cash flow to solve that pinch from when he needed to pay for the inventory until it was sold. And he found that rates for solutions that were out there were extremely high, and the cash flows didn't align with his business. So he created this solution, which we use today, Kickfurther, And it is a consignment-based inventory funding solution that allows businesses to pay for their inventory when they need to produce it, and they don't have to pay it back until those goods have sold and they've been paid by their customers.
That's awesome. What a great service to small emerging brands.
So David, let's dig in a little bit more there. Can you just tell us, and I know you just did it at a high level, so maybe let's go down one more level and just tell the folks the services Kickfurther offers, and how you can help these small emerging challenger brands. I mean, what you just said about the payment and you pay and they pay once they get paid, but is there a little more color you could put out there so people start to really grasp? Because I find what you're doing is really cool, and maybe there's other people doing it, but I've not heard anything as specific as what you do. So you want to go one level lower, please?
Yep. So today we have one product, and our focus is to make that product really effective. And the goal is to have the funding that we provide actually work with the cash flows of the business. And as you know, these consumer goods brands, they are selling multi-channel, often to direct to consumer on their website through Shopify or through Amazon. And then they're getting into retail or wholesale where they're selling to customers in bigger chunks and getting paid later on down the road based on payment terms. So you have this environment where different customers have very different cash flows based on different amount of time that it takes to manufacture, different amount of time that it takes to deliver to your customer, and different amount of time that it takes to get paid by your customer. So what Kickfurther does is we fund consignment, which means we buy the inventory that business is going to be producing, and the business is selling it on consignment for us. So as they sell it, they buy it back from us when they receive payment for it. And that simple solution actually captures the unique cash flows of any consumer goods brand that is selling through any of their sales channels.
So then another benefit I'm seeing is that instead of their precious capital, going to pay to just make the inventory, they've sold it to you on a consignment relationship. So now they have cash to actually invest in say, driving their business and driving that demand. Is that a fair statement or no?
Exactly. Our goal is to keep the funds that are in the business's bank account relatively steady and not impacted as dramatically by the need to produce more product. So we will actually fund up to 100% of the cost of goods. When a business is placed, let's say they're buying for their Amazon sales, their Shopify sales, and they just received their first order from Walmart. That's a pretty exciting place to be. I'm sure a lot of the businesses that you've spoken with are in that position. So they are saying, okay, I need to buy, 10,000 units for Amazon, 10,000 units for Shopify, and 5,000 units for Walmart. So I've got 25,000 units. They're $4 a piece. I need $100,000. Okay. So they come to Kickfurther and they say, here are the orders that I need to place with my manufacturer. We say, great, here's $100,000. We pay for their manufacturing. And then that inventory gets produced and it gets shipped to Walmart. They're paying on 60 or 90-day terms. And then it slowly sells through on Shopify and Amazon throughout that repayment period. As the cash comes back in from their sales, they use that money to pay us back. And then let's say that deal went swimmingly. They're coming back for another one. Now, Walmart is going 5x, right? Their first order was a test order. Now they're sending in the big guns. They're going to put it in, 150 stores, and they're sort of ramping up to make it possible for this business to be one of their customers. So we'll support that by funding a bigger order next time. And basically any sort of mix of different sales channels and amounts as they come in, Kickfurther will pay for manufacturing, the business sells, takes in the proceeds from those sales, uses them to pay us back, and rinse and repeat. And those deals can overlap as needed, or they can be consecutive.
That's awesome. So David, quick question. Who owns the inventory, you or the brand?
We own the inventory based on our agreement with the brand, but That is limited to our relationship with the brand, and so we're not interfering with business practices in the sense of like we're not the ones placing the order with the manufacturer or the ones who are selling it to Walmart or Costco or whoever they're selling
Right.
to.
So
Okay.
one more follow-up question there, David. So you guys buy the inventory, it goes into Walmart, Walmart pays. Do they pay you or do they pay the brand and then the brand takes care of Kickfurther?
It depends on the customer and their relationship with us. The majority of the time, they pay the brand and the brand pays us. But on some occasions, for extra security for us, we'll get paid by the buyer.
Okay, excellent. Tracy?
Yep. So tell us, our audience, a little bit about how Kickfurther gets paid and your fee structure and things like that. How does that work?
So we get paid but based on the sales of the inventory. Very simple, that we stay true to the consignment agreement. There's two components to the cost. Cost is a rate per month that's determined by the risk profile of the business. And a business will give us the data to evaluate their risk profile, which is primarily bank transaction history from the last 12 months. But depending on the size of the deal, we may have financials requested as well. We'll determine what that rate is. And then there's the other component is a subscription. And we have our most of our customers on an annual subscription. It's the lowest cost way to do business with us, where they're using this product every time they're placing an order with their manufacturers or as often as they need to. So it makes sense for them to use us on an ongoing basis. And so there's a platform fee to access the funding. If a business is concerned about making an annual commitment, we offer a month-to-month solution to try it out. About 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 customers will try month to month and then ultimately come back and do the lowest cost option, which is the annual subscription.
Man, so that's really interesting. So you guys are founded in 2014 and you have multiple potential solutions in terms of you guys getting paid from your clients. So that's incredibly flexible. Very interesting.
Great for emerging brands.
Exactly. So David, what does Kickfurther look for in a client when you're considering working? If I called you up and Tracy and I have this great gluten-free chocolate chip, what do you guys look for? Do you look for a minimum revenue level, a certain number of years in business? You only want to work with US based companies? What's kind of your criteria for returning Bruce's phone call?
Well, first we're going to want to taste your chocolate chip. But after
they're excellent. They're outstanding. My mother says so.
Yeah, it's his mother's recipe. And
That's right.
And my mom and family love it.
Nice. So actually you nailed it on the head. So they do need to be US based. That doesn't mean they can't purchase product internationally or sell internationally, but the business that we're entering into a contract with must have an EIN and have a US based founding team. And then when we just got started, we worked with some really early stage companies, and we found that it's better to let them kind of get through the initial speed bumps of figuring out, packaging and manufacturing, at least a couple production runs.
Sure.
So we require 400,000 in trailing 12 months sales to get started. That doesn't mean they have to be in business for a full year. We just need to see that they have sold and delivered 400,000 worth of product to their customers.
And that could be Spotify, Amazon, Walmart, whatever. It doesn't matter the channel.
Yeah, any channels. Yep, it could even be crowdfunding. They could have raised money on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. And by the way, you'll notice some similarities between our name and Kickstarter. The origin of the name is that we were sort of the next stage. You fund on Kickstarter, right? That's money used to pay for your first production run. And then what do you do after that? You had the backers from Kickstarter who received your first round of product. Now you want to sell it on your website or on Amazon. How are you going to pay for it? And so Kickfurther is sort of the next stage. I'm finding more and more that we're kind of 2 stages beyond that founding production run. But once they have 400,000 in sales, they can come to us and use us for funding production runs going forward.
So, David, I think you touched on this, but just to be clear, since many of the listeners either are or started as Amazon only or direct to consumer only brands, do you work with those? If I was an direct to consumer brand only, am I still a potential client, or do you like to see, at least a little bit of brick and mortar or Amazon?
No, it can be any mix. So you
Interesting.
direct to
Okay.
consumer, online only, wholesale only, retail only. As long as you are buying product or making product and paying for it at some point in time before you sell it and take in the proceeds from those sales, there is the ability to capture that payment gap and work with Kickfurther.
So, David,
Excellent.
quick question for me. So, what is the typical size of a brand that you work with, and then do you work in all kinds of categories, beauty, OTC, food, whatever?
Yeah, all categories. Um, the only thing we don't do is regulated alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and perishable consumables. So if it has to be in a refrigerator, it can't sit on a shelf for 12 months, then we're likely not able to do it. So basically, the inventory has to have some stability and value in order
Right.
for us to be able to collateralize against it. And as far, what was the first question? The size.
Yes, yeah, average size of your
So
client.
average size of the business is, I think, about 3 million in trailing 12 month sales. But the range is anywhere from 400,000, I said, as the minimum threshold. We've worked with businesses that have over 50 million in sales. We solve the same problem for everybody, no matter how big they are. Once they get to, say, above 50 million in annual sales, they either have substantial cash flows, or they're too risky if they don't, or they have access to
To capital.
lower cost capital, with
Right.
like a bank.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. Well, good. Well, let's talk about marketing. So whether you're a service or a brand, obviously building, awareness of the brand or your service is really important. So tell us a little bit about your marketing efforts and what kind of tools you use to, build awareness of Kickfurther, and then how do you evaluate those, levers that you're pulling in marketing?
So my domain is sales, so I can't claim to be a marketing expert, but I can give you a little bit of insight into how we operate. We do, and I think actually where I met Bruce was at an ECRM Range Me event. So we participate in events where the type of businesses that we will serve will be in attendance or exhibiting, and that we meet a lot of brands and partners that way. In this event in particular, the Founders Day event was put on by a partner of ours, RangeMe, ECRM. So we get a lot of exposure through partnerships as well, where we're serving the same client, we're solving a problem for them, and we have the credibility of our existing customers, they have the credibility of their existing customers, and we sort of share solutions that are valuable to each other's customers, and that grows our customer base. We also have a considerable amount of customer referrals. So businesses who are happy with the solution that we offered them bring their friends in. We compensate them for that, which also makes them even a little bit happier. And we do all the traditional marketing that you can imagine: content, social, paid media, and our sales team has an outbound function as well.
Yeah. Awesome. I am
Great.
following you on social media, by the way, just so you know.
Excellent. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All
So,
right.
so
Bruce?
David, as we start to head toward the wrap up here, as you look back on your career to date, who's had the greatest influence on your career, and what did this person do for you that's really stuck? If you don't want to name names, that's fine, but what did they do, and why are you like, as the years go by, you're like, God, I was really lucky that so and so cared about me when I was a junior bumblebee and didn't even know how to get into the building.
That's funny. Actually, I don't know if I wasn't expecting that question, but I can answer it. I think that I will call out my first boss out of college. I was coming up with some innovative marketing solutions, of all places in the parking management world. And I remember this was a large company at the time, and is even larger now. But my boss Maria was very excited about the ideas that I was coming up with, and I was becoming a little bit, I don't know, frustrated or impatient with them not getting implemented due to the large organization that I was a part of. And she made a comment that really stuck with me, that I need to draw attention to my own successes. And if I don't, then nobody's going to notice them, especially when I was such a junior employee at such a large company. And that really stuck with me. And I've used it to, to encourage the people that report to me today and in the last 10 years. And I think it's a key to success sort of in the CPG world, in the professional world, is you need to recognize your own successes to draw attention to them and to give them more power. And yeah, that's the answer to your question.
So you have to be your own cheerleader.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Awesome. Well, good. So now we're into our fun question, David. So tell our audience either your favorite brand, your favorite band, or your favorite football team, and tell us why.
So the answer I'll give to that actually is also goes way back. I was in a management class in college, and we did a case study on Toyota. And I'm actually, I'm very loyal to the brand, not because of that, but because of the reliability of the vehicles. But I think the way they operate their business has really influenced the way that I manage my team. And they seek innovation from within. So rather than, just the executive sitting around a table and saying, here's a good idea, the guy on the floor who's running the conveyor belt and, putting the nuts and bolts on the vehicle is the guy who's going to be able to innovate in that domain. So encouraging and facilitating ideas to come from each specialization within the organization is how you become so reliable and so successful. And whether that's building cars or building consumer goods products of any kind, or a tech company, I think that is some wisdom to take away from Toyota. And so that they are my favorite brand for that reason. And they make really cool vehicles and trucks.
They do. I love it. I have one. Bruce?
Yep. There's no question that their system, if I'm remembering correctly, because we did a case study on that in B school as well, is everyone on the line has the ability to stop the line if they see something messed up. It doesn't matter if you've been there for 10 minutes or 25 years. If you see a problem, you can ring the bell and draw attention to it to fix it.
That's amazing.
And that was a long time ago. So they were way ahead in terms of like employee empowerment. And to your point, David, the people closest to something, they see it the best, right? They see it the best. Okay. So David, thank you so much. If you'd like, how can people get in touch with you to learn more about your firm and your services and potentially start working with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is kickfurther.com. You can follow us or join us on LinkedIn. Anybody can email me directly, david@kickfurther.com. And, otherwise look forward to crossing paths with you, Bruce and Tracy, and anybody who's checking us out on this podcast today.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, David. All right, Tracy, the big finish.
Absolutely. Well, David, this was great. And I think your services are just fantastic for, our small emerging audience. Cash flow and funding your inventory is such a critical piece. And I know I've run across a lot of brands who be very interested in your services. So thank you for coming on our show today. And please continue to follow us on our Spotify and Apple channel. And also we have our website now, so roadtoretail.com, and also then on our LinkedIn. So look for this podcast episode to be posted soon. So thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you
Good
so
luck
much.
out there, folks.
Thank you.